Hello. So this is more of my interviews, HR, and trainings videos. I mean, I have a lot of content that I'll be talking about, but first, I've been tasked by LinkedIn to ask what it's like to identify a good recruiter. I have a love-hate relationship with recruiters because they can either be good or bad. It's sort of like the Wizard of Oz. The difference between a good witch and a bad witch. Based on my experience and experience with my family, we have seen some pretty tough ones. But I am not going to be all bad mouthing them, but I'm going to start with the good ones. Believe it or not, in order to find a good recruiter, the answer is very simple. Well, actually, the first word to describe a good recruiter is very simple, and that word is empathy. And empathy is what. Oh, sorry about that. So, empathy is what encompasses a good recruiter. This recruiter is very considerate towards the job seeker. The job seeker is looking for a job to support their family, and an empathetic recruiter also is able to work with neurodivergent job candidates because they have an understanding that job candidates who are neurodivergent have a hard time getting hired because they have communication disorders or they have something that impairs them to do particular jobs. And some neurodivergent people, when they face recruiters, they're also trying their best, to actually get out of working minimum wage jobs. I mean, I work minimum wage jobs, but it's been really hard for me to communicate because I have a communication disorder. And and the second word to describe a good recruiter is a good listener. They are able to listen to the job candidate and talk about and whether the job that they're being introduced is something that they're comfortable doing. I mean, that's part of communication in the job field. If you work in human resources, on the recruiting field, because above the recruiter, there's hiring managers, HR coordinators, and above all of it, on the food chain is, I don't know, chief hiring officer, which is a job that takes up to 10 years to actually get. Now, the third thing of a good recruiter is they are okay with taking no for an answer, which means if the job candidate doesn't like the job that they're being introduced to, they would respect the job candidate's idea of why they don't think the job is a good fit. And fourth of all, a good recruiter is able to understand, well, more on the empathy, is able to understand how a job candidate feels if they are not hired for a particular position. They would take the effort to find, this is important for staffing firms, they would take the effort to help the job candidate find another position. Because companies and staffing firms, they should have plenty of jobs that people are comfortable working in. And fifth is kind of a bit of a question mark because I've seen some people who are willing to listen to negotiation. A super good recruiter will do number 5, which means they will be able to listen to the job candidate and negotiate a fair salary that provides like a disposable income. So that covers all the good reasons why what makes a recruiter good. Now, for the bad part, First and foremost thing to know about a bad recruiter is they're only in it for the money. They want to interview a job candidate because they want to keep their time busy. They're only in it for the money. They want to keep themselves busy. And I found out about this through experience from my parents. I mean, they have dealt with a lot of staffing firms that have evil recruiters that are just in it for the money. They don't care if you get the job. They don't care if, well, they're also responsible for writing the job postings. They don't care if the job posting expired or the job doesn't exist. And second of all, they will have some kind of condescending attitude, which means that if a job candidate is neurodivergent, they would not show any respect towards him or her because of their communication skills. And third of all, a bad recruiter will not be able to negotiate. They will just stand their ground and say, I'm sorry, I cannot give you guys a higher salary. And fourth of all, a bad recruiter mistreats the job candidate. I mean, I've dealt with hiring managers who do this, but they will just make up some story about the job candidate during the interview that didn't actually happen. And this is why for me personally, I would sometimes video or record the job interviews I'm going to, because I just want to make sure people are on their best behavior. I mean, if you work in human resources, you must learn to respect people. If you don't respect it, then why are you in that major anyways? And fourth of all, a bad recruiter also sends emails to people who don't want them. Because some people, they may be happy with, let's say, a tech job or a job in computer engineering, and they will still send an email to the people who are working a really nice cushy job at Apple and not be aware that they are already working. And fifth of all, they don't know how to write. Because later in my next few videos, I'll talk about my interview experience at Tesla as a full-time employee, and I'll talk about how to properly follow up with a neurodivergent job candidate after they finish an interview. Because I've gotten a lot of flack from people who say that just because I'm neurodivergent doesn't mean I should be working, or just because I'm neurodivergent that means I easily should not be getting a job offer. I mean, that's not how it works. Because bad recruiters, they build their career on the premises of mistreatment. And the worst thing of all is number 5. I'm sure if you are currently job searching, or you had, a lot of job interviews before your current job, you may have experienced this multiple times, and that is ghosting. Yes, the big kahuna, man. I've seen it happen to me multiple times since I finished undergrad. There's been a bunch of recruiters that actually ghosted me, and even if I try to follow up, I would not be getting a response from them. And sometimes it does cause me to escalate by follow-up methods, because nobody is keeping them in line because they're acting so self-centered. And that pretty much completes what differentiates a good recruiter from a bad one. I mean, you should already know that they have no empathy. So thank you very much for reviewing my video log about recruiting, the bad side and the good side of someone who works in that field. I mean, my dream job is to work as a recruiting coordinator to keep these people in line, but because I have no experience in HR, I can't start anywhere. So thank you very much, and if you're not unemployed, happy job searching. If you're retired, enjoy retirement, and if you're working, please do not fall back and enjoy your and don't let your work stress you out. Thank you very much.